Hi you guys, welcome back to Mayfield Ranch. My name's Katie and today I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my garden, show you how it's progressing since last week. We've definitely got some things out here to harvest, so we're going to do that pretty quickly. So come on along and let me show you what's happening. Start out here in the back animal garden, showing you our peppers. Everything's growing quite well and getting big. Now this squash, this volunteer spaghetti squash, is growing right up the trellis and it's getting quite a bit bigger. Some peppers, flowers all over some of our other pepper plants. We've got a bunch of flowers all over that volunteer spaghetti squash, so hopefully that produces really good squash for us. Okra's doing pretty well since we got so much heat this last week. It's producing an okra, so I can harvest that. Now this side over here, we come into our tomatoes. So I got a bunch of beefsteak tomatoes along the back. The tomatoes along the front looks like they've gotten a little wind damage, kind of flopped over there, but we'll stake them up. They should be okay. And then on the front side here is our ground cherry and some basil. And I'm just showing you the inside since I've started to weave these tomatoes through the arched trellis. And this is the back side of that spaghetti squash. It's growing right up and it looks like it's doing really well. I think this here is our cantaloupe. I'm pretty sure it's a cantaloupe. We'll see. It's climbing up there. Then we've got all of our Malabar spinach, cucumber, still kind of small there. One cherry tomato, a bunch of delicata squash planted here in this bed. So we're seeing some flowers. I don't see any fruit set yet, but hopefully that'll do well. Then in our big ground garden, all of our squash is growing over here. And we do have some zucchini and yellow squash that I can harvest. So there's still flowers here, and I've got this one big zucchini here that kind of got away from me. So it's pretty good size, but I'm gonna go ahead and harvest that and we will use it. And then there's a handful of squash out here in this ground garden bed that I need to go ahead and pick. So mostly what we have out here is yellow squash. So we'll get those harvested. So it looks like our squash is able to outproduce the weeds, which is really good. We've spent so much time trying to keep the weeds out of this ground garden and the raised beds too for that matter. But we're getting to the point in the season where we just can't keep up with the weeds. We've got weekends and nights basically to work out in our garden. So we're just gonna harvest the vegetables that can outproduce the weeds, and that's our current strategy. And for our first little harvest, I think we didn't do so bad. So we've got a little bit here to take on in. So I'll give you a quick look here just at our pots. We've got a few plants over here on the side of our greenhouse that I've got planted in pots, and everything's doing really well, including this overwintered pepper. So I did harvest most of the peppers off of it, but we still have a few that are kind of small, and I'm just letting it get a little bit bigger. So we'll move on over to our backyard and go into our backyard garden and show you how things are looking over here. So this delicata squash is looking amazing. It looks spectacular. It's getting so big and it's setting fruit all over the place. And then this butternut squash is growing up the trellis. It looks like it's doing really well. It's so pretty. The leaves are huge. This is a look from the other side. We've got some peppers also in the bed sharing it with the squash. Then our Armenian cucumbers over there. And then we move into our beefsteak tomatoes in this bed that are looking pretty healthy. I think we need to get a little more water on this bed, but we'll adjust that and it'll look good. We've got some green onions over here, Roma tomatoes, and then our cucumbers. I still need to get out here and get these cucumbers kind of tied up, see if we can train them up that trellis. Now this in the middle, I don't know what that is. The lady we bought the house from actually had that out in the garden, but the honeybees love it. So we just let it grow around that little table. Here's all my peppers over here. Those are jalapeno peppers. Over there to the right, there's a little squash. But I've got all my peppers. And then on the end here, there's some little watermelon that I'm trying to get to grow up that trellis. Here are my green beans that I recently planted, some orange habaneros, and then there's a couple hot peppers there. Now this is Buena Mulata, and we've got a pepper on there. It's so pretty. And my jalapenos. Thanks you guys so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, please be sure to do so, and we'll see you next week with another garden tour.